The longest single-season punting average is hard to break. For decades, it has stood at what many thought was an unbreakable point, with it belonging to Sammy Baugh at a whopping 51.4 yards per punt. That record has been around since World War II, and punters, myself included, made up too many excuses as to why it was going to be impossible to break. It was too few punts. Sammy only needed 35 to make it happen, and it was in a different era of football entirely, which is why many punters, once again, myself included, looked to the modern era record, which was about as close as we thought we'd ever see, with legendary Raiders punter Shane Lechler having a massive 51.1 yard average in 2009, which has only ever been sniffed by 3 other punters, which are Andy Lee in 2011, Corey Bajorquez in 2020, and once again, Shane Lechler having a 50.8 yard average in 2011. It appeared that somewhere around maybe the 51.5 yard marker, there was some sort of ceiling. Not just at this level, but even at the collegiate level, with a record that was broken twice in the year of 2021 of 51.2 by Ariza and Michael Turk. And in a close third, somebody that very same year hit 50.9 yards per punt, but we'll get to know them in a second, because to this point, people knew what to expect with punting. They knew what good punting was, at least they thought, and with the 2022 NFL Draft reflecting what they thought good punting was, we saw Jordan Stout going first in the 4th round, sporting a freakishly strong leg, great ability to play in harsh climates, and a sound directional game. Then went Camarda with a huge top end on his punts, played in the big stages of the SEC, and his kickoff power was nothing short of a small rocket launcher. After that went Ariza, who was secretly in a bit of hot water behind the scenes, but just broke the NCAA record for longest punt and showed off a lot of potential upside. And then finally, late in the 7th round, going to the Bears was Trent Gill with his bag of trick punts, mature punting style, and ability to hold and kick off well. But behind the scenes, there was that guy. Another senior that was only 0.3 yards behind the record-breaking Matt Ariza. He never played on any big stage coming from Colorado State. He didn't kick off, and worst of all, he was picked up in free agency to take on former All-Pro/Pro Bowl punter Brett Kern. Now look, I've been one of those guys who believed in this punter the most, but even I was having my doubts when it came to taking on a veteran like Kern. But then the preseason came, and very quickly, everybody, and I mean everybody, knew his name.
The Bucs forced into the end zone. A 68-yard punt by Ryan Stonehouse, the rookie out of Colorado State. He averaged 51 yards per punt at Colorado State last year. Absolutely booms the ball.
Now, like I said, I knew from the jump that Ryan was going to be something special. Personally, I think we'll all look back on these signs and what will be a potentially Hall of Fame career for Ryan and understand that, maybe he should have been higher on this list, but there are limits to punting that I, like many others, didn't think would be broken, and game after game after game, he just kept breaking them. His first 57 yards per punt on 6 punts, 55 yards per punt on another 6 attempts, a massive 60.3 yards per punt on 3 tries, with 52.75 on 4, 52 on 8 punts to follow it up, and then finally 54.7 yards per attempt on the 3 the week after. This gave him a whopping 54.9 yard average to start the season, which was absolutely unheard of. But we all knew it had to come down. I mean, it had to come down, right? Well, we did get our first 2 sub 50 yard average games, week 7 and 8, with him posting a 48.4 and a 48.75 yard average on those 2 games, respectively, and many, including myself, thought, okay, fun's over. Time for him to look somewhat human again, but then he just didn't. 7 more weeks in a row where his lowest average was 50 yards, and that came against the Jaguars in week 14 on 3 attempts. Then we'd get his last 50-yard average game with a 47.4 yard average, which was followed up by his season finale of 55.3 yards per punt week 18, once again against Jacksonville. At the end of the year, Stonehouse hadn't just set a record, but he blew the previous record out of the water. that little ceiling we had all theorized that existed around 51.5 yards got obliterated by Stonehouse's massive 53.1 yard average. On top of that, the one thing that people thought would prevent someone from going for this record to begin with was that it could set up opponents with big returns. And that just didn't happen. Yes, he had the most punt return yards in the league and only a top 5 net punt in the league, with 44 yards a punt being netted, which is still above and beyond what anybody would have expected. But on top of that, his biggest punt return was only 27 yards, which, yes, I get is significant, but a testament to not only his ability to limit a return, but his team's ability to limit the punt and his coaches' trust in him to just go out, kick the ball, and let us make a play. At the end of this all, words can't really describe what the NFL just experienced from this season. And I'm sure that next season, Stonehouse is going to have his eyes on the net punt category, leading me to believe that this record will be the new once every 100-yard record. Sammy Baugh, Shane Leckler, both replaced for the introduction of the new punt god, Ryan Stonehouse. But if you made it this far and you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. Regardless, have as good of a day as Ryan Stonehouse had a season, and peace.